gentle.
Wow. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I just decided to eat some chickpeas, some salted chickpea snacks just now, and now it's all in my teeth. So I'm going to be dealing with that for a minute. Anyway, hi. We're here. We're doing the thing. I was wearing my tank top earlier. I'm still wearing my tank top. It's under here. But I got cold. So now I'm wearing my hoodie. Double merch representation. So, hi, everyone. How are you doing? How are ya? How are ya? How are you doing? We don't have anybody hanging out in the website chat. So if the website chat is moving slow, it's because there's nobody in there right now. But lots of you hanging out in the YouTube chat. So hello, hello, hello. We've got Cyrus. There's Jiffy Pop Tart. Bloody Hatter. Hello, hello. Clemmy Coy, who might be a troll. That's always fun. The Weirdo, CKA Evan. Hello, Evan. Who else is in here? Who else is in here? Lucia, hello. Rupreme, Trans Unfiltered, Dali, Zach, hello, hello. There's Fuzzy Logic. There's somebody in the YouTube or in the website chat. You started the video the same way I'm ending my new one. Owen Wilson, wow. Yeah, wow. Wow. Yeah, that's fun. What's up? Staying sane, but only barely. True. Hello, Drumcat. Hi, hi, hi. I had to turn you up. Okay, fucking God Christing damn it. Hold on. Are we doing this again? Now is it louder? Okay, I turned it up. There we go. Were you on a podcast with Demon Mama? Why? Yeah. Why is a weird question to ask. I've been on a podcast with Demon Mama and Gayfesh for, yeah, we've hit our year. We've hit our anniversary of doing the podcast. I mean, I'm not like super close friends with either of them, but I've been friends with both of them for like years. And we do a podcast talking about movies, which is really cool. So every 2 weeks or so, sometimes every other week, every other week, except that sometimes we have to do 2 weeks in a row. We talk about movies. So we were talking about, we just did a recording of Stand By Me, which I really loved that movie. And I really enjoyed the resulting conversation. Like it was just really an interesting film that lent itself to a lot of really good discussion about like our childhoods and parenthood and, you know, how we approach those things and like how society has changed since the 1950s, which is when like the movie came out in the 80s, but it's set in the 50s, and how it has like all of this Maine energy, as in Maine, the state, because that's where Stephen King is from. And I think the book takes place in Maine, although the movie takes place in Oregon. So yeah, it was just a really interesting discussion. So next we're doing The Princess Bride, which I'm so excited for. Yes, we're doing Rob Reiner films. We did This Is Spinal Tap, and then we just did Stand By Me. Then we're doing The Princess Bride, and then there's like 5 more movies. I think we're going to do a total of 8 movies from Rob Reiner's filmography. And the last one is we're going to do This Is Spinal Tap 2, which was Rob Reiner's last feature film before he passed away. So that's really exciting to me. I relish an opportunity to watch new movies, especially movies that are considered to be like renowned film history stuff. Like When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride. And I'm especially excited about The Princess Bride because I've never watched that movie with an eye for film critique. I mean, I grew up with that movie, like legitimately, like I grew up when I was like a toddler. I would do the laugh. I would sit on the floor cross-legged and I would do the laugh from Vizzini, and I would go like ha 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 ha, and then like roll myself over and like fall on the ground. It was very, very, very amusing in hindsight. Yeah, so Rob Reiner films. Yeah, I watch The Princess Bride like once a year anyway. So now I'm going to watch it a few times this week probably, and at least one of those times I'm going to watch it with the intent to be like, let's look at some of the film decisions here. I liked that Andre the Giant was in it. Yep, it's a pretty solid mark. Janerkey, hello. Just got back from doing a 5-minute brisk walk and it feels like I'm doing a 5K sob. Listen, okay, here's my thing. If you feel like the exercise that you're doing is too intense, you might try recumbent exercise, meaning exercise that you do while you're seated or lying down or lying back. I have some pedals, like some bike pedals under my desk, and I raise my desk up a little bit because it's motorized. I raise my desk up a little bit and I do pedals. And then other times I go to my living room where there's more space and I do strength exercises on the floor. So like glute bridges, clamshells, stuff like that. So especially because I imagine that most of you have had at least one COVID infection, and COVID fucks up your system in like 100 ways. Literally, I could talk for 30 uninterrupted minutes about all the ways that COVID fucks your shit up. And one of those ways is by making exercise really difficult, like systemically. So yeah, try recumbent exercises if you're struggling with something like it feels like, oh, it should be easy to go for a walk. Well, the thing is that when you're standing, your body is fighting against gravity to continue pumping blood up and down, you know? So you're like, after COVID, like a lot of people are developing what's called orthostatic intolerance, or POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is to say your body is working a lot harder to pump the blood against gravity, which is why you do exercises seated, because then you can get like all the benefits of cardio without the like panic that you get from like your body panicking from not being able to do the basic standing up stuff, much less like standing up plus walking or running or whatever. Oh, Meffy. I didn't see Princess Bride until last year, and I was like, oh, hey, it's the guy from Saw. Kill me. That's crazy. Also from Liar Liar. He was the stepdad in Liar Liar. Yeah, well, okay, so actually, interestingly, Evan says COVID-19, you should definitely try to avoid exercise as much as possible for a few months after an infection if you're lucky enough to realize you've had an infection. Yeah, so even for people who think they've had zero COVID, there's a possibility that you've had non-symptoms COVID, which happens pretty frequently. But also, I was actually reading a study that indicated that like graduated forms of exercise can be beneficial in the recovery from COVID. So, you know, if you're like running marathons, you can't launch back into running marathons, but it might actually be beneficial after the first, you know, I always think of COVID recovery as like treat it as though you've just had surgery, right? So if you've just had a major surgery, you're not going to get up and start running after 2 weeks. At least I fucking hope not. Like, yeah, so for the first few weeks, I would say, you know, treat it pretty seriously. But if you can handle some, you know, gradual exercise, the study that they did, hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see if I have it. To my knowledge, I've never had COVID. Yeah, you certainly have, though. Yeah, so, okay, this is a study from Yale. I'll put it up on the screen for you. One second. So, they did a study, exercise linked to fewer COVID-19 and long COVID symptoms. So they tracked 50 different symptoms, and they mostly looked at young women, I think. Hold on, let me read this. So the study conducted asked 802 women from ages 18 to 34 to complete these surveys. They decided to focus on that group because women, young women especially, are seemingly one of the highest risk groups for developing long COVID. That's why they decided to focus on that group. Yeah, research has found that young women in particular have a higher prevalence of long COVID. So they tracked some symptoms. These findings may not hold true for those who have post-exertional malaise, like ME/CFS, which means if you get like flu symptoms after exerting yourself. That's what post-exertional malaise is. So if you exert yourself and then between 12 and 48 hours later you seem to develop flu-like symptoms, that might mean that you should not push yourself by exercising. But for this study, women from each physical activity level were represented in the study. 43% of participants reported low levels, 35% had moderate levels, and 22% had high levels of physical activity. So different examples being like climbing stairs for 10 minutes or running for 20 minutes or walking or cycling for 25 minutes a day. And you can read more if you want to. Among the 50 different symptoms tracked in the study, over half the participants reported fatigue, anxiety, severe menstrual cramps, depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure, dizziness, lightheadedness during their COVID infection. And on average, patients reported 14 of these symptoms during their acute infection of COVID. The interesting thing here is that the number of symptoms reported decreased as physical activity went up. High activity patients in the acute COVID-19 group had an average of 12 symptoms, while low activity patients reported 16. Moderate activity patients were in the middle with an average of 13 individual symptoms. In those who experienced long COVID, that group averaged 12 symptoms. The authors found a similar trend. High activity groups reported fewer symptoms, an average of 8, compared to low and moderate activity groups, 11 and 14 respectively. In patients reporting long COVID, 63% experienced fatigue, and at least 40% of participants experienced one or more of the other symptoms. Reinfection was not correlated with participants' level of physical activity. So it seems, according to this one study with 800 participants, that higher levels of physical activity are correlated with a lower number of symptoms. So like maybe you have fatigue, but you don't have shortness of breath or whatever. So it's just really interesting. I do recommend, taking it easy for the first like month or so after you catch COVID, especially during your COVID infection and like during your active symptoms phase. And I recommend getting into exercise like gently, because it does seem as though we've seen some of these really high performance athletes passing out or so like the more stress, timing of said physical activity is also likely key. Yeah, for sure. So I with any illness, with any viral illness, you ought gradually get back into your regular level of activity. But it does seem as though physical exertion can be correlated with a reduction in symptoms. It's just a matter of like doing it in a safe way and paying attention to your body and listening to your symptoms. I think the new protocol for a lot of medical issues is to get people back to moving pretty quickly. Mom had an abdominal surgery in December and they had her walking as soon as she's awake. So I think that there's a difference between movement and exercise. Now, any amount of movement is better than not moving, but exercise in that way where it's like you're hitting a higher rate of heart rate and you're putting your body through like a longer period of exertion, you like those like yes, I understand movement is recommended for once you're out of surgery because in particular because resting can cause you to get blood clots if you're resting too much, like after you give birth or after a surgery. You need to get the blood pumping to make sure that you're not having blood pooling and blood clots. How do you know if you got it without symptoms? Do we just assume we had it? I think that you should probably just assume. We're in the 7th year of this pandemic. 7th year. So, it started in 2019. Or, if we just count the first year of 2020, where we know that it was, we know with a fair level of confidence that it was global by the beginning of 2020. So all of 2020, all of 2021, all of 22, all of 23, all of 24, all of 25. We are now beginning the 7th year of this pandemic. You should assume, unless you have been really religiously masking this entire time, that you probably have had it. So obviously, yeah, the only true way to know is by regularly testing, but the likelihood that you've just simply not been exposed to it and not developed, some kind of antibodies to it, pretty much impossible. Gradual exercise, if you got long COVID or ME/CFS, can make it worse. However, well, actually, so what I wanted to make a very clear delineation when in this study, which had 800 participants in the highest risk group for long COVID, some of these participants had long COVID. This study differentiates between ME/CFS and long COVID because they are not the same. With post-viral illness, you can develop ME/CFS, but this specifically says with long COVID, exercise reduces symptoms. And gradual exercise, listen, I want you guys to understand what I mean by gradual exercise, okay? This is the POTS protocol, the CHOP protocol, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. This is commonly referenced for people who have orthostatic intolerance and for people who are struggling with upright exercise. It is a graduated program with a calendar. And so here's what we're talking about. When we're talking about starting easy, 5 to 10 minutes of warm up on the recumbent bike. So you're sitting down in your chair and you've got the bicycle thing, or you can do the rowing machine. I don't know, but supine cycling, recumbent bike, swimming laps with a kickboard, rowing, or seated stepper. These recumbent exercise. 5 to 10 minutes of warm up, meaning you're going slow and working yourself up to what this calls base pace. I know it's kind of small for you right there. But base pace means your rate of perceived exertion is between 2 and 4. It should feel pretty easy. So when your very first day of this protocol is 5 to 10 minutes of warm up, 3 minutes of it feels pretty easy, with 2 minutes of slow it way down and do a recovery between. So if you're doing the recumbent bike, to slow your feet way down. And then 3 more minutes of what feels like pretty easy cardio, and then 5 to 10 minutes of cool down. So a grand total of 6 minutes of pretty easy exertion. It shouldn't feel very easy, but it should feel easy. You should not be getting to a level where it feels like, oh, this is kind of hard. So if you start feeling like, oh, this is kind of hard, slow it down. This is what graduated exercise means. And this program, you gradually increase, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. The next week, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. And it's not until you start the 3rd month of training that you have worked your way up to 30 minutes of pretty easy exercise. And you don't do it in the heat. You don't do it standing up. So by month 3, you get to 30 minutes of pretty easy exercise. Honestly, the thing that is most difficult about this is the strength training, because strength training, in my experience, kind of pushes you a little bit more than the pretty easy cardio. But even then, you're doing everything on the floor. You're taking time between sets and everything. Put some respect on that germ theory of disease. Oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me. By no fault of your own, I told you guys that I needed to start a new diet according to my doctor, like to help with my symptoms. She wants to see my cholesterol come down, even though it's still technically in the green according to like the charts. It was about like my LDL was at like 200, and she was like, I want to see that number come down to 100. So I was telling you all that I needed a food processor because I want to be able to make hummus at home. And if I need to chop large amounts of vegetables, I was like, I want to get a food processor. 3 of you donated toward my food processor. So it was Viren, Paul, and one other person. Excuse me, who was it? It was, yeah, Kalamu, Viren, and Paul all donated toward my food processor. So I get to have a food processor now, which is going to make my shit so much easier. And I have to say, this week I went ahead and bought like a lot of foods that fit into the Mediterranean diet. Like I'm supposed to eat way more vegetables and fruits and whole grains. Let me say, these are fucking really good. You remember Sun Chips? You remember how they used to be like, this is like the unhappiest form of chips? These cheddar Sun Chips, 100% whole grain, they're really fucking good. They're like so good. They're delicious. They're so good. It's the opposite for me. I love lifting, but cardio is my enemy. No. Listen, I'm not saying I enjoy either one of them. I mean, I enjoy strength training. I'm just saying it's like literally physically harder to do because it pushes your heart rate more than doing base pace, easy mode with the cardio. The trick is not making exercise feel like a job. True. Well, so that's part of why I recommend what I've been doing, which is I have the bike pedals under my desk. Guys, I watch YouTube. I sit here and I put on a video or like a TV show or something, and I sit here and watch a video while I do my exercises, and I pull up my stopwatch thing on my phone, and I start it and I go for like between 5 to 10 minutes for my warm up. And then once I feel like I'm at my base pace, I press the button and I do 3 minutes of base pace or whatever fucking, what am I at right now? I think this week I'm on 5 minutes because I got strep throat recently and I put a pause on it. So what am I doing? Oh, I'm doing 6 minutes. Oh, no. Monday, I did 6 minutes, 3 minutes recovery, and then 5 minutes. And today I'm supposed to do 7 minutes, 3 minutes recovery, and then 5 minutes. So it's like, I'm actually getting to a place where I feel like I'm starting to actually like increase it, and it feels amazing. Yeah, feta cheese. There's a really good salad with cucumbers, tomatoes, olives, olive oil, salt, pepper, and I personally add some beans and feta. Yes. So I have gotten lots of little things. I got some like soups and stuff that I've been trying out. And honestly, I'm pretty happy considering that it's really annoying to have to switch up a diet. Some stuff is like just buy healthier snacks. So, okay. Chickpeas snacks, roasted chickpeas with sea salt. I also got some ranch flavored ones, really good. Sun Chips, the regular ones and the Harvest Cheddar, both delicious options, very tasty. So some of it is just replacing my snacks with ones that are less, like just less unhealthy, right? Because before I was doing this thing here, I was like, I thought I was so clever because I've been eating a lot of Greek yogurt. It's super healthy. It's high protein, low fat option. And so I've been eating a shit ton of it. So I thought I was so clever. I would make a dip. So basically just a whole bowl of yogurt with some salt, garlic pepper, or not garlic pepper, Jesus, garlic powder and paprika. And then I would eat it with like the store brand Ruffles cheddar and sour cream. And I thought that that was smart, but I think eating that many chips was probably fucking me over a little bit. So that's kind of why I got the Harvest Cheddar chips. I haven't tried these with my yogurt dip, but I'm certain that it would be delicious. So like Harvest Cheddar chips, whole grain. The Revered protein chips. Yeah, I think I did put them away. They're not on my desk right now, but I have the straight up chicken. It's like chicken and bone broth and egg whites into a chip, and it's fucking delicious. It's so good. Huge fan of the French onion sun chips. I bet those would be delicious. Ugh. Soliciting sponsors. Yeah, Wild Brand protein chips are fucking delicious. Dude, yeah, nobody has ever attempted to sponsor me. Well, I used to have a public email and I would get messages on it, but I was pretty sure that most of them were scams. Because if they're like, I mean, you know, I expect a little bit of work to go into it. If you send me an email for a sponsorship and it's mostly stock, you're like, oh, I love your videos. I would love to do a thing. And like, you need to tell me like what my videos are about to make you seem like a real person. So I would get like chewing gum or like mints. One time I actually did respond because it was one of those gaming chairs. And I was like, listen, if you send me a free gaming chair, that would be great. And I went back and forth in the emails for a while until they were like, you need to send us money. And I was like, there it is. So I don't have a public email for sponsorships anymore. Instead, I have on the YouTube backend, I have it enabled that I could be contacted through the YouTube backend. But nobody's reached out. And like, listen, I only have 40,000 subscribers. I get it. I'm not like upset about it or anything. Did you see what happened in Canada? I heard that you guys had a mass shooting. Yeah. I don't know any details about it. I heard that you did, though. Yeah, I'm going to hang my hat on the new Nigerian Prince sponsor, for sure. Oh, Kitty, that's so... Okay, so I, as a chronic illness person, my initial response to this is like, yay! I hope that doesn't come across wrong. But Kitty says, I'm not sure if I'm excited or sad that I finally have enough symptoms to have been referred to a rheumatologist. Gonna get to find out what flavor of autoimmune or other bullshit messing with my shit. I'm hoping it's not one of the more spicy ones. I've been living similar to someone who has one of these disorders for 20 years now, so that definitely helps me with getting less sickness from the world. I've never tested positive for COVID at this moment, but I'm pretty sure I had it once toward the beginning of all of this. I'm a literal 91% introvert, so that helps a lot. Yeah, absolutely. That helps a whole bunch. I feel you on like finally getting some answers or hoping to finally get some answers. I'm really bummed that I did not get confirmation that I have POTS. I clearly have some kind of symptoms of orthostatic intolerance, but I did not qualify as having POTS, which it might have just been like, it can depend on the day and stuff, or maybe because I've been exercising already, it might have not fucked me up as bad, but I like definitely felt sick while I was doing the testing, but my heart rate didn't go up high enough for them to qualify me as having POTS. But my entire treatment guidance, was to do all of the POTS things. Yeah, she was like, you need to drink between 2 and 3 liters of water a day and get more salt and continue doing the recumbent exercises and try abdominal compression. Like, okay, all the things that I haven't really been doing abdominal compression, but I do wear compression socks every day. So I went ahead and bought, it's not a corset, but it's kind of like, yeah, I guess you could call it like a waist trainer so that I could get abdominal compression. I'm going to get that soon, hopefully, in the mail. But yeah, so I'm frustrated. However, they are doing more testing. I have to go back and do blood work to test for vitamin deficiencies. And I'm also supposed to do an EKG, which is where they hook you up to all the nodes. But I'm also supposed to do an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of my heart to see if I have any actual heart problems, which I mentioned last time, and one of you in the comments said that one of you said that you had gotten an echocardiogram and found out that you had a heart defect that could be treated through surgery. So like, yeah, it's scary to find out that you might need to have a correction in your heart. Like, I know one of my younger siblings had a heart murmur when they were younger. So like, I could have a congenital heart deformity or defect or something. And if I could get it fixed through surgery and then not have any of these fucking symptoms anymore, that could be like the solution to the problem. And also something that the doctor did not talk to me about during the visit, but that they ended up ordering after the visit, is that I'm supposed to do a 14-day Holter test, which like, so if you go in and you do the EKG and they hook you up to all the nodes, that's only a snapshot for like the several minutes that you're hooked up to the machine, which if you're not in the middle of symptoms, then maybe it'll show up nothing. They look for like arrhythmias and things. So I'm supposed to do like a 14-day hook me up to all the things. So that's exciting. Like at least I get to find out if there is something actually physically wrong with my heart. And if there's nothing actually physically wrong with my heart, then, I'm kind of back to the square one with like, just treat your symptoms, which I'm like disappointed that I didn't get my POTS diagnosis, but I think it's maybe a little bit silly that I feel so annoyed about it, because POTS is a syndrome. It means you have these certain symptoms. It's just a collection of symptoms. That's what every syndrome is, by the way. It's not the same as getting like a blood test and finding out that you have a genetic disorder. It's just like, do you have this collection of symptoms? And I do have a lot of them. It's just not as intense as they were looking for on the testing for my heart rate and everything. So functionally, what's the difference between me having a bunch of symptoms that match up with POTS versus me having an official diagnosis? I think it was just going to make me feel better to have the diagnosis. But since I don't have the diagnosis, now I, quote, have to do this additional testing. But in a way, it's kind of a blessing that I get to do the additional testing, because I do get to find out and make sure that there is nothing actually wrong with my heart. So yeah, gonna get the ultrasound next month. I'm supposed to do the 14-day test soon. Like, they're literally just gonna send it to me in the mail. I've been really pleased with the medical system up here. Like, maybe it's because I have health insurance for the first time, because all of the things that I was doing before.
Inabox has donated $25. Use this money to buy yourself some pots. I suggest stainless steel.
Thank you, Inabox. I actually do own a bunch of Calphalon. When I moved out, you guys probably, if you've been around for a while, you'll know, I moved out of living with my partner to go live by myself for like a year. And it was my gift to myself during that, because I was not going to take any of his pots and pans. So I bought myself a really lovely set of Calphalon pots and pans. So I've got the full thing of Calphalon stainless steel pans. And I gotta say, excellent investment. Excellent investment. I had to do a 3-day Holter monitor in 24. I did a 48-hour Holter monitor. I want to say it was 23 or 24, but 48 hours isn't a very long time. So I'm doing literally 14 days. Very, very excited to see if anything turns up on that. Thank you so much for the donation, though. What am I spending donations on right now? Basically just groceries and healthcare, Thank you for helping me be able to afford my health insurance premiums and be able to send my younger sibling to college, which they're doing that right now. What am I doing? What are we typing? Guns out. That's what I put in here earlier. Oh, and since I have been officially told to drink between 2 and 3 liters of water again, the emotional support water bottle is back. You guys miss the emotional support water bottle? This is 64 ounces, which is 1.8 liters. So I have to drink like at least 1.33 of these every day, basically. Yay. I decided to put the straw attachment back on there. For a while, I took the straw attachment off of there because I thought maybe that drinking through a straw was giving me bloating. But fuck it. It makes it easier for me to drink water. Water. Yeah, exactly, Evan. Like, I just want to know what the fuck I am supposed to do. But all of the things that I have been told to do are like, these will help your symptoms at least while we try to figure out if there is something more specific. I am also hoping that if I do this graduated exercise program, that I will get to a point where I'm just like, I just feel better because my heart is stronger, you know? But she did tell me that I shouldn't take any Ritalin for now, which I'm fucking bummed about. I'm really annoyed that I'm not allowed to take Ritalin right now. Later in a box. Have a good night. Did you know you are on while Jimmy Snow is on? Yes, I did know that. I just opened up my YouTube and I see that he's online. The goal for Jimmy is to have programming 7 days a week, which means that like if I were trying to avoid being on at the same time that either Jimmy or The Line is online, like it's gonna be fucking literally impossible for me to have my own show. So yeah, typically I stream on Sundays and Wednesdays, and I think it's usually when Matt Dillahunty is online, which I feel like we don't really have a lot of concurrent viewers. So I'm assuming what they're doing is they're doing a Calling It Now, which will then lead into Matt Dillahunty's show, which is going to start in about an hour and 15 minutes. So they're doing Jimmy Snow on the line. Forrest is on, whatever. We have totally different vibes over here, okay? I do not do call-in show. For me, personally, I talk about whatever I'm thinking about or whatever is interesting to me. Whatever movie I just watched. By the way, Frieren, so fucking good. I'm going to keep watching it probably later tonight. But I've only seen like the first 10 episodes of Frieren. It's fucking good. It's wonderful and I recommend it. Thank you, Evan, for the $5 super chat. It says, thanks for being one of the few pan-dang-it smart YouTubers I've seen. Also, yay for my mask block turning 1 year old today. Hey, that's awesome. I fully support people who are doing mask blocks and like giving out masks in the community and making sure that community members are protecting each other. That is what makes a community a community. Hell fucking yes. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. That brings us up to $30 for today. My plan, if we get to $100 in donations, is that I will get the guns out. The only reason I'm not wearing my tank top right now is because I got cold earlier. So I'll take the hoodie off and we'll go tank top mode. We'll go buff arms mode. Buff. I would love to see your network go 24/7 with more shows. Honestly, I do kind of think that that's the goal at some point, Jackie. That, between Jimmy Snow on the Line and The Line and maybe whatever fucking else we do, like, I wouldn't put it past Jimmy to add another channel into that, but for it to be 24/7, honestly, I think that might be part of the goal, is like literally any time of day, any day of the week, you can tune in and there will be something going on with our network. Because really the goal, as far as Jimmy has described it to me, is we want to be a part of a de-radicalization network. You know, there's all this, like, the alt-right pipeline stuff that everybody's heard about. You've heard about that? The alt-right pipeline. I think that we serve a purpose because, like, keeping in mind that the purpose of debate is not necessarily to convince that person that you're speaking to about anything. The purpose is to convince the audience. And so so debate sometimes, even informal debate, is not about whether you are actually correct or whether your argument is actually convincing. Sometimes what you do, even in a formal debate, is make your opponent look like a fucking idiot and take away their credibility. And I'm not saying that I support this necessarily. I'm just saying, like, this is the fact of the situation. The fact of the situation is that public debates are not about changing anyone's minds necessarily. I do happen to believe that my side has the facts on it, and I argue from the facts a lot of the time. But also, sometimes you just ridicule your opponent. You say, wow, are you listening to yourself? That sounds fucking dumb. And maybe that person doesn't change their mind, but maybe someone in the audience goes, ooh, I don't want to repeat that because it's embarrassing that that person sounds fucking dumb. Like, am I going to sound that fucking dumb if I say that? And then that triggers a thing where you're like, oh, well, shit, is that even correct? But sometimes it starts with, dude, you sound like a fucking idiot. So yeah, we need a hard left pipeline. So what we want to do is be part of a, like, I don't know if you want to say de-radicalizing or like re-radicalizing, but helping people recognize that their beliefs or that the cult mentality perhaps is wrong, and provide them with a legitimate alternative. And like, people always say this about like the male loneliness epidemic, or maybe not the loneliness epidemic so much, but like the radicalization of young men, that basically that like they need something to believe in. You know, people criticize feminism and they criticize the left for not providing men with a solid concept of an alternative, right? There's a very strong, cohesive, coherent ideology or like coherent idea of what a man is from the right and on the manosphere and that kind of thing from the Christian nationalist side. Oh my God, I'm so thirsty. So in the same way, whether we are de-radicalizing men who are sexist and patriarchal, or if we are de-radicalizing MAGA or de-radicalizing Christian nationalists or whatever, part of what we need to do is provide them with a clearly defined alternative. So we need to provide them with this, like, here's what your values could be or should be, and here's how we functionally execute those values, right? Jimmy is a socialist, and he lives those values in a way that I think it is like hard for some people to understand. Jimmy makes less money than Arden does most months because Arden works fucking hard. She puts in a huge amount of work. She shows up consistently, and because of the socialist model of distributing our income, Jimmy is not the highest earning person in the company that he owns. That's what a socialist living their values looks like. And so I think part of what we're doing is trying to provide some examples of like clear alternatives. How can you live your life in a way that is different to what we've all been taught? We've all been presented this idea that like this is the way you must do it, and there is no other alternative, and everyone is doing it this way, so you might as well do it this way too. But you don't have to fuck over your neighbors in order to get ahead. Or like, why do you want to get ahead? Why don't you want to share a standard of living with everyone around you? Like, why is there this idea that you should have an exceptional standard of living compared to other people because you've quote unquote earned it in a way that other people haven't? I don't know. Anyway, I'm about to eat some salt. This is something that I've done for myself to kind of make things fun. I do need to clean this little bit of like whatever schmutz got on the outside of my bottle. This is a little like spell bottle thing. It says witch's brooms, use with caution, number 107. And so I just kind of fill this with like 7 grams of salt the last few days. And like periodically throughout the day, I just like eat some of the salt and drink some water. And I did like 7 grams of salt instead of 10 because sometimes I might eat some olives or something, or I'm probably getting some salt directly from my diet. So this is kind of how I'm operating right now. Like, I'm just gonna eat some of this salt. And drink some water. Mm. So you gotta make things fun for yourself. In addition to making things more, it's like part of making things possible when you want to achieve your goals. Is that a lot of salt? Yes. I am supposed to eat up to 10 grams of salt a day, and the normal, hold on, daily recommended salt. The dietary guidelines for America, fucking goddamn it, I hate this stupid fucking AI thing. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2.3 grams per day, and an optimal goal of no more than 1.5 grams for most adults. So as I just said, the last few mornings, I fill this with 7 grams of salt, because for someone with orthostatic intolerance, and like in order to drink 2 to 3 liters of water and like not immediately pee it out, you do have to increase the amount of salt so that you can actually hold on to that water. So yeah, that's kind of like literally what I was told to do by a doctor. Yay. I don't have hypertension. So if you have high blood pressure, you should not eat salt like this. Even if you are having orthostatic intolerance, you should not eat that volume of salt if you have high blood pressure. I don't have high blood pressure. But don't you know, if you have more money than other people from siphoning off their value, you should have all the comforts that you stole from others. That's what earning it means, exactly. May I ask, is that a POTS related thing? Yeah. I am not diagnosed with POTS because I just did the testing and I didn't technically qualify. But since I still have so many of the symptoms, my treatment recommendations are still in line with the treatment recommendations for POTS, including being prescribed a beta blocker. I was prescribed a beta blocker, which is what you give people with fucking POTS. So I'm like, God damn it. It's really annoying. Like, oh, you don't technically have POTS, but yeah, you basically need to still do all of the things that you would do if you have POTS. Like, I fucking guess. Oh gosh, y'all are so active in chat. My husband just started watching a small streamer who is like reacting to every message in the chat. And I'm like, I am finally reaching a point where I can't respond to every message in the chat, partially because I want to yap for 5 minutes uninterrupted. And then I look at the chat. But anyway, something in my teeth. What are we doing? Get out of there. Okay. Faulty says de-radicalization sounds right. We're aiming to get people to actually think instead of accepting whatever some dumbass spouts off or extreme positions that have no logical basis. Yeah, but like, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to convert people off of MAGA and have them become liberals. That sounds like a fucking nightmare situation. Like in a way, I guess it depends on how we define radical, okay? Like, currently, the quote radical left is like people want universal health care, right? That like universal health care is the radical position, where I think the actual radical position is Luigi, all of the healthcare or like all of the health insurance executives. You know what I mean? And like the position that's being treated as radical is that like we should create more transitional housing for homeless people, versus like what I think the actual radical position is: repossess all like extraneous property, especially properties like residential properties owned by corporations, and turn that into public housing or nonprofit housing, and also possibly create exorbitant fines in an ongoing fashion for any person or entity who has been withholding housing for the purpose of making a profit. And like the thing that's being portrayed as the radical position is defunding the police, whereas I think the actual radical position is to abolish the police and try police for their crimes against their neighbors, but all of the police murders that have been happening since way before this ICE bullshit. Remember George Floyd, y'all? Like George Floyd, Tamir Rice, fucking Philando Castile. Like they've been like the term. I picked up a term from one of our co-hosts recently, Natalia, who's an anthropologist, who called it racialized fascism or racial fascism. So like the thing that you guys are, not you guys, but the thing that we're all freaking out about right now, like white people getting shot in the face by white officers, that's been happening to black people, right? And again, like the position that's being portrayed as radical is that we should scale back ICE to a former level of deployment, whereas the actual radical position is hang them all for their crimes, And like, so the question for me is like, do I think that I will tolerate, like, do I support bringing people to a moderate place if they have been radicalized to completely support ICE and completely support Trump and completely ignore the pedophile ring and all this kind of stuff? Like, am I satisfied with bringing those people to a moderate position? Or do I want those people to be what I consider to be the actual radical position? Like, would I prefer to have public support for hanging treasonous individuals for those crimes? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, yeah, scaling ICE back to 2002 levels before ICE existed, truly. Yeah, apparently the fucking radical position right now is we should prosecute pedophiles. Like, what is happening as a result of all of these? Oh, have fun, Viren. Thanks for hanging out. Tell your wife I said hi. I don't fucking know your wife, but yeah. Like, so what is going to happen with all of these, like, Epstein releases? Like, where are the arrests? Where are the trials? Where are the investigations? Like, where is it? Mephi says, I have this debate conundrum lately, because this is technically a whataboutism. Whenever somebody tries to say LGBT people or the woke left in general are grooming kids or some shit like that, I just get struck by the fact that the right wing literally elected a pedophile into the White House. Like, it's so stupid to be on the defense against the right on pedophilia accusations when their guy is literally a diddler and they don't care. I don't know if that's a whataboutism to point out that they are doing projection. Like, I think that rhetorically, maybe some people would still make the argument that it's a type of whataboutism, but it's not whataboutism, because you're not deflecting off of something you are actually doing in order to, like, deflect the argument. Like, if you want to be completely thorough about avoiding the accusation of whataboutism, you could say, like, there is no evidence that trans people are grooming children on a wide scale. However, Republicans support child marriage. Republicans are like, support this person who is widely believed to be a pedophile. Like, projection is different. than a whataboutism. And like calling out someone's projection, I don't think is a whataboutism, because I think that like whataboutisms are fundamentally about obscuring a criticism of yourself that would otherwise be a legitimate criticism. Deprogramming, also a really interesting term. I think deprogramming is a fair term to describe what we want to do at the line. Yeah, they cry about indoctrination, then take their kids to a church. Fucking true. Projection in a mirror could be an interesting term for it. I've not heard that one before. I think that for society to work, we have to allow for different viewpoints without looking down on those that hold differing opinions from ourselves. I think it's a really noble sentiment, Jiffy, but I do think that it depends on what the difference is, right? Like, is the difference between, like, we should put more funding toward building bridges, or should we put more funding toward building roads? I feel like that is a conversation that we could have in a civilized society. But like, if you're saying that we should not cast moral judgment on people who support deporting fucking 5-year-olds to countries they have never been to, I really think that it's, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking to this from an emotional standpoint rather than a rhetorical standpoint, because like, I don't know, but I think that we should cast moral judgment on people for having openly immoral opinions that cause harm, right? Like, we're not talking about like I said, like how much funding should the schools get versus how much funding should we reserve for fucking disaster relief or something, you know? We're not talking about issues of like, you know, high-minded, how should we allocate the resources of our society? We're talking about children being trafficked for sex and labor. And like, apparently some of these Epstein files are indicating that like there was cannibalism at play, which I haven't really delved into it. I'm not trying to fucking ruin my entire day by like getting into a deep, yeah, okay, so yeah, fair enough. It's not deportation if they're being sent to countries that they're not even from. That's just exporting, aka trafficking, to the El Salvadorian slave labor prisons. True. Right, yeah. So yeah, I'm just not personally of the opinion. And like, because also from an evolutionary standpoint, shame and ostracizing are important tools to maintain the social order. So with people, I don't know, like, I kind of got distracted in the middle of my sentence there. We should have consequences for believing fucked up things and voting in support of fucked up policies. Now, I'm not saying we should make it illegal to vote Republican, right? But do I think that there are natural social consequences, like your kids don't want to talk to you anymore? Yeah, I think that that's a good thing. I mean, we're literally, okay, so there was a shooting this week where a woman was challenging her dad, I think, on like his Republican beliefs and his like not giving a shit about the Epstein files. And she was like, listen, what if it was me who was sexually abused like that? And he went and thought about it for 30 minutes and came back and shot her in the chest and killed her. And there's no prosecution going on. Like, should there be legal consequences for that dude? Yeah. Should she have just not been talking to him anymore? Probably, yeah. There should have been social consequences already for him. Like, I don't know what the mentality is for a guy who's like, I'm going to literally shoot my daughter because she made the reality of sexual abuse personal. We now see ICE promoting ads on the networks sponsored by a shadow organization. I have not seen that even during the Super Bowl. Yeah, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. Anything about the Super Bowl. I've seen a lot of screenshots of Bad Bunny's performance, but that's it. Maybe I'm getting old, but I confess I want less immigration. I heard a viewpoint how everything is being homogenized, how Paris won't be Paris anymore, or Rome won't be Rome because everywhere will be. I mean, I think that's kind of silly. I mean, if you want less homogenization of culture, then what you want is to abolish the internet, because the internet is responsible for a large amount of homogenization of culture, especially the dominance of American media in global culture. But you know how Paris remains Paris? They do regulate immigration, and they require people to adhere to their standards. Like I've already mentioned this recently. I know a family that has a lot of trans people in their family who moved to France from Texas just now, like a month ago. And like one of the people in that family is on a visa that's like an artist's visa. So like they have special permission to take photos in places where other people might not have permission to take photos, because they are artistically archiving like architecture and other aspects of Parisian culture. So you can still like rigidly require adherence to cultural norms while still allowing immigration. I think it's really silly to be like, I think there should be less immigration, when immigration is 100% good for the economy. Like it's so overwhelmingly good for the economy to have immigrants. And like, especially America's culture is supposed to be a big melting pot. That's been our professed value for years. Our professed value is that we are going to, like, that, you know, you can come here from anywhere and we will be, you know, we're a big melting pot and all this kind of shit. So I guess I just don't like the idea that like a culture is being eroded by allowing immigration. Like the laws and customs of a place are still going to be the same. But also like it reveals to me like a resistance to change, as though like the culture of Paris now versus the culture of Paris in 1,000 years should be the same. Like there's an ought statement in there that is a conservative ought statement, that like, you know, the idea that the Parisian people themselves, whether they have immigration or not, will never change their values in 1,000 years. Like, do you think the Paris of today is identical to the Paris of 1,000 years ago, with or without immigration? Like, I don't know. The crux of the issue is the question, can a country enforce immigration laws humanely? Sure. But that comes back to like, what is the real radical position? Like, you know that migration is like fundamental to how animals work? Like migration, like moving from one place to another. It's a fundamental aspect of how animals function in the world. So why would we create arbitrary human borders and say, no, you're not allowed to travel anymore. You're not allowed to migrate from place to place? Like that we have violently suppressed Romani culture as well as Native American culture that involved nomadism. Like, are we not suppressing something fundamental about our nature by denying the ability to easily move from one place to another? What justification is there for claiming ownership over a chunk of land, saying these are the borders, this is my country, I'm going to make up the rules, and if you're born here, you have to follow those rules, and I get to say who stays and who leaves? Like, I really don't know if people think about that very often. Exactly, Jay Anarchy. The radical position is to abolish nation states. Like, what justification is there for placing these borders and, you know, acquiring land through conquest and like it's yeah, is a thing worth preserving just because it's old is another question. What's up, Dormy? Paris has been through revolutions, invasions, etc. for thousands of years. That's true. Paris is much older than the country of France and has maintained its culture through multiple kings, queens, and other governments. Also, it used to be normal to murder Romani in Paris, so I think places can change. Fucking true. I think there's something to be said that a lot of icky, irrational, anti-immigrant sentiment is just almost entirely based in language. Do you mean like people speaking Spanish versus English? Is that what you mean by language? We also should be more conscious of how much is wasted annually. Living nomadic is 90+% of human history. We literally only started city building a bit over 10,000 years ago, truly. American Jews who assimilated and started speaking English and sending their kids to public schools and stuff face less persecution than I think they would had they remained a more insular culture that rejects English as an everyday language. Sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It makes society easier to function if you speak similar languages, but also we could solve that problem through education by just like requiring people to take a second language in school. Like it should not be normal that so many English speakers speak only English. Like that should be fucking embarrassing. I really appreciate so many of you having such interesting thoughts, even though I can't respond to all of them. I read some of them and don't respond to some that I have read. I like don't necessarily have a jumping off point to everything that you say, but I really appreciate like how thoughtful you guys are on this topic. And I also want to say, I don't have all the answers. I'm just an idiot on the internet. An idiot who you should be skeptical of because I have biases. You know, like these complex issues are ones where we should all gather and put our heads together wearing masks and think like what justification is there for why we do things the way we do things? What is the justification for borders? Like, why actually would we want to reduce immigration? If we are concerned about declining birth rates, why would we not want more people to come into the country to marry people and give birth and increase our genetic diversity? If we're concerned about the economy not growing, why would we not want immigration when immigration is shown to have a positive impact on the economy? Like, we have to decide on a shared values system. Like, do we value differences of opinion? Do we value economic strength? Do we value longevity of these policies? Like, we have to come together and decide what kind of values-based system we want our society to be based on. What are our goals in society? Yeah, and like we can't forget that a lot of this is just fucking racism. So happy to have learned several languages. There's such a strong connective undercurrent to knowing not only how to communicate with others, but also how to learn, also to learn how they historically came to communicate in their culture. It's really fun being an etymology nerd, with like learning another language. I don't know if I've shouted it out before, but I have this app called Language Transfer, and it's also, I think you can just access it as a web page as well. Language Transfer. The icon is like a black and white drawing of like two people's heads in profile, and they're facing away from each other, and there's a little Venn diagram overlap, and there's gears turning in their heads. Language Transfer helps you identify the ways in which languages are similar without having to like translate words, and it does not have you memorizing words. It's basically just a podcast where they discuss like I'm just listening to the Spanish one. I haven't listened to it very far. I want to listen to it more often and like repeat, like listen to them over again. But it's stuff like any word that ends in AL in English is probably a Latin word that has a Spanish equivalent. And you just change the spelling and pronunciation, and then it's a fucking Spanish word. And that's one lesson that I just told you that has given you 3,000 words in Spanish. Like normal, colonial. Any word that ends in AL in English is probably just a Latin word. You just change the spelling and pronunciation, and boom. Mente, the suffix mente in a Spanish word is the equivalent of ly. Like normally. Normalmente. There's another fucking 3,000 words for you. Okay? So this is, I think, a really excellent way for people to learn languages without a bunch of memorization. Someone asked a minute ago, should the shared values be driven by the economy? Well, sure. So when I am arguing in favor of the economy, that's me like using conservative values against them. But like there are like, okay, do we prioritize prosperity is probably a better, and like, how do we measure the success of the economy, right? Our value system, if we value the fucking stock market, but we don't value the idea that people should only have to work one job, or people should only have to work 32 hours a week. Like how we measure the success of the economy, because prosperity, I think, is always going to kind of be a shared value. Like many people have a different idea of what prosperity means, but I think prosperity in terms of like people can afford to do well. People can afford to buy food, or people can afford the things that they want. I would love to see a post-economy society, but I probably will not live that long. That like, you know, maybe we, in the Star Trek version of things, like we simply provide things to people who need them, and we don't charge people, and people do labor because they want to better themselves, to help people, rather than like doing labor because they need to make money, you know? Yeah, flourishing, I guess, could be a different term for it. That's fair. So prosperity or flourishing, like human well-being, I just think that we're going to continue to have an economy for a while. And so deciding on a shared value with the economy is an important thing. Are we prioritizing billionaire profits? Are we prioritizing people being able to afford childcare? Like, what are we doing? We need to get on the same page about it. That's fucking true. Everyone is perpetually trying to not fix capitalism, but rather make enough money that capitalism's flaws no longer apply to them. Truly. Yeah. People are still trickling in. Hello. We have like almost double the number of likes versus viewers, because apparently people are here for a second and then they want to leave. So cool. Thanks. Man, I'm struggling with like some gunk stuck in my throat right now. Or It's like stuck kind of technically in the back of my nose. I'm going through it today. Yeah, ooh, wow, Lux doesn't want a classless, moneyless society. Ooh. Listen, I'm a communist. I think I am a degrowth communist. But I'm only going to get to live that lifestyle if the United States collapses, and it probably will. So maybe I'll get to live in a commune someday. Fucking maybe. My job pays me because they have to, but I'd happily do my favorite job for free if I could. Sadly, bills exist. Literally. I would probably do something other than what I do now if I had like the complete freedom to choose to do whatever I wanted to do. Like maybe I wouldn't work for a couple years. Maybe I would focus on like making art and finding that creative spirit again. I would probably throw my fucking computer out a window because I'm so tired of being like addicted to social media. Did I see the Pam Bondi thing? Yeah, I saw that someone I don't watch these hearings like from start to finish, but I see clips sometimes. So I saw a clip that someone called out Pam Bondi. Liu, I think, was the name of the senator or whatever he was. And he was like, I believe that you just lied under oath. And she was like, don't you accuse me of a crime. And he was like, I believe you just lied under oath, and all of this is on camera. So I like to see those kind of call outs. I would like to see her actually being prosecuted for lying under oath and not just accused. Like, that would be cool. Like, some actual consequences. I think my politics is that governments are like corporations, and when corporations are too big, they should be broken up, and that the US could be like 70 countries. I don't disagree with you on several aspects of that. This is part of why I moved to Oregon. I moved to Oregon because I figure if and when the United States government collapses, which it probably will in the next like 15 years, California has a GDP that's bigger than many other countries, and like Greater Cascadia, right? Like, I'm here for it. I'm here for Greater Cascadia. And we are already forming coalitions outside of the rest of the, like, isn't California rejoining the World Health Organization after the United States pulled out? And there's a coalition with Hawaii, Washington State, Oregon, and California where they're creating their own health alliance where they're recommending vaccination schedules at the, what the CDC used to recommend, or the FDA, whichever one it was. I think the CDC recommended certain vaccine schedules. So, yeah, like, we're already seeing coalition building between liberal states. And I figured it's contiguous, like it's all one contiguous landmass, as opposed to moving to Minnesota, where you don't necessarily have a bunch of bordering. You can become part of Canada if you want to, I guess, but there is not like bordering states to be in coalition with. So, yeah, I'm making decisions for the long game. Ooh, this reminds me. Speaking of decisions for the long game, first of all, I was talking to Dormy U about what cars in terms of the long game, because I was thinking like, well, an electric vehicle might actually be a good idea, as like gasoline probably will stop being available at some point. Although a lot of electric vehicles have a bunch of fucking bloatware in them, so like I don't really know if there's a good option for that. But I'm just like, either that, or I'm probably going to have to at some point convert my engine to an ethanol consuming engine, and I don't want to fucking deal with all of that. I'd rather just have solar panels that I can like attach to my car. But anyway, speaking of the long game, we're going to take a hard left turn here for a second. And I apologize to everybody who doesn't want to hear about this, but fucking too bad. As a person who has when you bleed sometimes, I keep getting ads from a company called Lil Helper, about their reusable pads, and they have other products as well. And I was looking into them, and then I was like, I'm like honestly a little suspicious about a fucking product that keeps being advertised to me. Like, and the only reason I'm even looking into this particular product is because it's been advertised to me a bunch, but there are other reusable pads. So I started Googling around and like trying to see like if there's reusable pads. And I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of annoying. It takes a lot of extra steps to clean them and whatever, and it's not cheap. But, you know, if you're saving money on like buying pads a few times throughout the year, then whatever. And then I was like, man, maybe it would be more convenient to look into like period underwear. Running into the same issues with like, are they going to be breathable materials? Are they going to be able to catch the flow? Are they comfortable? Are they, you know, fitting the way that I normally want my underwear to fit? And like, I just, at some point, I just like ran into a wall with that and was like, I am so fucking tired of trying to come up with this. And what I decided to do was, I decided not to get any reusable pads or period underwear. And I'll show you what I did get after I drink more of this water. So here's what I decided to do is this wonderful thing with multiple layers of packaging. This is a little pill thing that they hide in. Wa-na-na-na. I decided to get a menstrual cup. Actually, I got a thing that has 2 cups. There's a smaller one that's a little smaller than this. I can't show it to you because I'm using it currently. This is like the steamer for sanitizing it. You like fill this with water and you put it in there and then you fucking microwave it and it like sanitizes it. Yeah, so this is me going, I'm trying to future-proof myself. Now I will never, if this ends up working for me, I will never have to buy pads. I won't have to buy fucking reusable pads that I have to wash. It's silicone, yeah? So, hold on one second. Yeah, so anyway, this is what I've decided to do. There's like, the one thing I can recommend, I can say so far, is that I folded it up like this, and I am not entirely sure that it kind of unpopped itself completely when I placed it. So I might still need to figure out, like, there's a couple of different ways that you can fold it that, like, this is called the 7. You can fold, instead of folding it just in half and half. Like, this is, when you, did everybody watch The Last of Us? This is how Ellie folded in The Last of Us, and then it went, oh, hold on. What are we doing? It popped open with a satisfying little pop sound. And then there's the 7. That one. And then there's, this one's called the punch-in, which is like, you put it like this, and then it pops open. Anyway. So, oh, and what I really think is cool about this is that it has liquid measurements on the inside. So you can see it. This one says, I don't know what the other one says, because again, I'm using it right now. This one says 10 mils and then 25 mils. So you can actually see how heavy your flow is. So anyway, yeah, this is me future-proofing for not ever needing to buy shit again. And like, this is like legitimately, as long as I don't tear this or fuck it up badly, this is like the rest of my life. Anyway, so that's my fun little update for everybody. Look at this. It's such a cute little thing. And like, you've got like the little travel bag, which I guess I'll, how do I, it's a tight fit in this bag. It's ridiculous. Why is it such a tight fit in here? There we go. And then, there you go. And then this is like cardboard, so I probably wouldn't want to keep this like in my shower bathroom where the whole thing gets like full of humidity. But hey, they will wear down with use. Yeah, well, so will my dildos. It's medical grade silicone. Like, yeah. As long as you don't, like, expose it to extreme heat or, like, sunlight, I think you should be okay to keep one for, like, a while. Plus, like, when I say, okay, like, I'm in my 30s, when am I going to go into menopause? In 30 years? 20, maybe? So, like, this only has to last that long. And there's 2 of them. Like I said, there's a smaller one. So I can switch between the 2 of them. I had to fish one out of a latrine once, even with boiling water. Did not want to reuse. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my little update. Dude, my mouth had water in it. Come on, sorry. You should stock up on a bunch of them and make a flower sculpture. That would be fun. That would be fun. Little flower sculpture. California is the 5th largest economy on Earth by itself, so Cascadia would be the 4th, making more money than the rest of the United States combined. Yeah. And I agree. We have issues with, like, Eastern Oregon. Like, there is like, but honestly, listen, if Eastern Oregon, during the balkanization of the United States, if they want to be their own thing, fucking more power to them. We have an entire mountain range in between us. And guess what? Much like, you know how you all were probably hearing that blue states subsidize red states. As in, California pays more taxes than they receive back in public services, but red states use public services more than they pay in taxes in the federal system, right? So if, like, that is also the case in this within a state, right? Like Portland, I haven't like looked into this specifically, but I'm pretty certain that this works out the same way, that Portland generates more taxes than they pay out in services. And in the eastern side of the state, they use more services, like they're on SNAP, they're using more services than they pay in taxes. So frankly, fuck them. If Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon want to say, like, fuck it, like, we're probably going to be better off. So I don't fucking know. Like, yeah, like, have fun. If the red states don't want anything to do with the blue states, if the red parts of our states don't want anything to do with the blue parts of our states, then fuck them. I mean, except for, like, it sucks that there's queer people there. And yeah, let's help subsidize moving those people out of that area if they want to. That could be part of the balkanization. Like, listen, if you live in fucking Alabama, but you're queer and you want to live in a better place, like, we'll subsidize you moving here because we want you to support our economy. That's why immigration is a good thing. As someone in a purple-red state, take me with you. Lexi Wolfer, thank you for the super chat. Says, hi, Lux. As a fellow trans person, love your content and you. Thank you very much. That's very sweet of you. I hope that I provide some value. Even if it's just ranting and raving, we want to, create a supportive environment for people to be in. Moved from Idaho to the Oregon coast a year and a half ago. Idaho sucks. I didn't realize how angry and selfish people were until I got to Oregon. Yeah. And, it's not perfect here. If you're tuned in to kind of like the politics, because Oregon in some ways is like purplish. So it was... Like, so there's plenty of people here who say things like, go ICE, let's do a Charlie Kirk vigil or whatever. And it's annoying. But I moved here because I want to protect Oregon as a blue state. I brought myself and 2 other people who are going to vote blue. And I think that we should continue like concentrating our power, as much as that sucks, because I know that, the changing landscape of our country has been troublesome. Like that Florida used to be a purple state and now it's deep red. That like there's all these changing demographics and stuff. But at this point, we need to start future proofing. And future proofing means consolidating our power. As someone in a perpetually red state in the Midwest who has dwindling savings, I'm just going to take a long rest when the sundering happens. I think that a lot more people are going to need to directly confront the idea that becoming a refugee means leaving behind all of your shit. And Oregon used to be a red state, now it's purple-blue leaning. Yeah, totally. I think that, like, I moved and I had the relative privilege of being able to save up enough money and fundraise enough money. And like my husband pulled out his retirement and stuff, that we were able to move with most of our stuff. But as things get more dire with the climate change and the political unrest and everything, to some extent, it's going to mean your survival, and you're going to need to just leave behind everything that you own. Like, unfortunately. And the longer you wait, the more it's going to be that, It's like, while you have time, you might start downsizing your belongings and selling some of the expensive stuff that you don't really use that much. And then you have a little bit of savings. And maybe the less stuff you own, maybe you can move into a smaller apartment, even if you can't afford to make the big move yet. And make friends. Holy shit, make friends so that when you arrive someplace, you have a couch to crash on for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
Lexi says, Texas turning blue maybe makes me happy. No state tax and trans care. That's not going to happen at this point. I mean, I truly feel like if you believe that that's going to happen, then I want whatever you have. Like I want to try whatever you're on right now. But that's also coming from like, I lived in Kansas for a very long time, and I remember there being so many times where I was like, wow, maybe we're going to be a little bit purple, because Kansas has several blue cities, right? There's like Kansas City and like Topeka and Lawrence. Like there are blue cities in Kansas, but because of gerrymandering, Kansas is not going to become a purple state, even though they often have a Democratic governor. In my lifetime, I think we've had a Democratic governor for more than I say we. I'm from there. I don't live there anymore. But like Kansas has had a Democratic governor, I think, a majority of my life. So, I don't know. It's closer to happening in Texas now than ever, and Kansas is close to a tipping point as well. Maybe it's just the gerrymandering. Dudes, like, I don't know how to get around the gerrymandering problem. Marginalized people live in the millions in red states. Same goes for conservatives in blue states. They aren't all going to move. You can't just hack them off and secede without getting rid of the neoliberal vulnerabilities of the past 100 years. So I want to be clear. I am not saying we should secede. Okay, what I'm saying is the United States government will fail. It will fail, regardless of what anybody does about it. So I'm just saying, like, I'm in a place where we are going to be able to coalesce into a place with, like, we have shared values and a strong economy. So I'm not saying, like, we should secede. That's literally not what I've ever been saying. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that what I'm doing is I'm citing the Limits to Growth report, where the global economy is going to collapse before 2050, the global economy is going to collapse. So, like, yeah, this is not me saying, like, you know, fuck them because I want to just secede and everything's going to be fine where I am. It's like the whole thing is going to collapse and we are going to need to find a way to pick up the pieces. And Idaho doesn't want to be in a coalition with Oregon. They don't want to. And Eastern Oregon doesn't really want to be part of Oregon anymore either. So fucking, I'm not going to, what I'm saying is I'm not going to try to exert territorial control over Eastern Oregon if they decide that they would rather be part of Idaho. Like, I'm not going to say, like, no, you have to. Like, and I know that there are a bunch of queer people in red states. That's why I support a policy of subsidizing their moving, because it just is completely out of our control that the balkanization will occur. Like, the balkanization is going to happen regardless. I'm just saying let's put ourselves in a strong position to be able to handle what's going to happen afterwards. Kentucky is similar, solid red, but some of the worst senators and congressmen, but always seem to have a banger of a governor. Yeah, it's super weird. It turns out when the vote is by popular vote and not gerrymandered into districts, lots of red states do lean blue. It's crazy. Isn't that crazy? We recently had a caller who was talking shit on democracy, and I'm like, well, you can't talk shit on democracy by claiming that democracy is what led us into the situation that we're in now, because democracy didn't land us in this position. In fact, if our presidential votes were based on a pure democracy, the Republican would have lost multiple times. The only reason, like, what you take issue with is the fact that we are a republic that is divided into states and districts, and that those states and districts can be drawn in a way that fucks the Democratic vote over. Like, how many times in my lifetime has a Republican actually won the popular vote? Not very many. I choose Minnesota or the mountains of Colorado for the upcoming water wars. Yeah, the only thing that sucks about Colorado is that they literally steal water from the Colorado River to subsidize people living in the American Southwest. And so, like, they're just going to drain the Colorado River dry over and over again in a way that fucks up everybody upstream as well. What do you think about the recent... Oh my God, my nose is like so congested today. I don't know what the deal is. What do you think about the recent news about Trump being in the Epstein files over 1 million times? I am not surprised. He was literally best friends with Epstein. That's what he said. So even if he's not directly the one in contact, people are still going to be speaking about him because he was hanging around all the time. The high mountains are safe. Sure. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I guess. Like, you guys still in Colorado, you're in Minnesota, but like, Colorado is still going to run to the same issues where, like, if it's not snowing enough, and Oregon is going to struggle here because, like, this winter we haven't had as much snow, which means if there's less snow in the mountains, then there's less water that's going to melt into the waterways over the summer. So, yeah. Minnesota and Colorado are both good options, and I don't want to shit talk them. I just worry about what's going to happen to you guys when you're surrounded by red on all sides. Except, of course, Minnesota, like I said, you can become part of Canada if you want to. Hot take, Epstein is actually in the Trump files. Fucking fair. That's a fair criticism. I'm in Kansas. I live out and obvious as a trans/bigender person and have had no hassles. My gender affirming care is being paid for by my Obamacare insurance. There are more and more of us coming out in the open here and standing for our rights. There's support. Yeah. I just think it's, I mean, like, you know, yes. And they just passed a fucked up bathroom bounty law. So even if the people are good in certain parts of the state, it's still gerrymandered in a way that means that the powerful people can do shit like pass a bathroom bounty law with a veto-proof majority. Like, you know. Yeah, I think they can claim joint ownership over those files. Fair. Okay, I have to pee. So I'm just going to step away for a couple of minutes and rest my voice for a second, maybe blow my nose, and I'll be right back. So yeah, just chill for a minute and I'll be back in a couple. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Hi Dizzy. You know what's really interesting is so I have a lot of very vivid dreams, and I had a dream about visiting you again. Like seeing which house was yours and everything. It was really interesting. What are we talking about? I heard something about water and winter and snow and states and weather, and I have no idea. Oh, climbing climate change. Climbing climate change. I kind of got distracted when I was in the middle of talking. This is a blood orange. I had never had one until I bought a bag of them recently. This is a navel orange. It is enormous. And I'm going to eat one and then the other one because I'm supposed to eat more fruit. But yeah, we were talking about climate change and like the inevitable balkanization of the United States and like, whether we're in a good position You know, like the whole reason why I moved to Oregon and all that kind of shit. So, yay, the collapse of an empire. It's going to be an interesting next 50 years or so. We're going to live through some fascinating times. What are we talking about in the YouTube chat? You guys are talking about alcohol and weed. I am still in the process of figuring out if I should be drinking or doing anything as far as my health goes. Blood oranges are so interesting. Like, there's like purple staining on the inside of the pith. That's so cool. I like trying stuff that I've never tried before. It's like an orange, but like less flavorful, is my experience of eating some of these blood oranges before. This is the last one. I actually just wanted to eat a navel orange, but then I was like, well, shit, there's only one of those blood oranges left, and I bought them first. So first in, first out, blah, 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 blah. Blood oranges are good. Yeah, they're fine. Like I said, like my experience of it was that it's just like less flavorful than an orange. But I don't know, maybe I just didn't get a very good batch of them. I'm in the valley. It's like climate resilient and, you know, Portland and everything. It's cool. I don't want to live through fascinating times. Yeah. So say all who live to see such times, but it is not ours to choose what happens, but it is ours to choose what to do with the time that we're given. I paraphrase Gandalf. That quote makes me cry a lot of the times. Can you speak Valley now? You know, what's interesting, I think maybe because there are just a lot of transplants here, I haven't really noticed a distinct Oregon accent. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a distinct Oregon accent? I have not noticed one. I also went and visited Seattle, and I didn't hear a particular Seattle accent, even though I was hanging out with somebody who's from there. So, yeah, interesting times. Cry face, cry. Blood oranges in mead are fantastic. Oh, interesting. I got really gung-ho about the idea of making mead a few years back, and then I realized how expensive it is to buy a pound of honey. Like, especially if you want to use a local product. So buying a pound of honey, because it's 1 pound of honey to 1 gallon of mead. I'm like, that's an insane conversion. So maybe if I have my own apiary at some point, I'll make mead, but that's a crazy conversion. I'm just saying I didn't notice a specific accent. I'm not necessarily definitively saying there isn't one, but I just didn't notice one. I have so much congestion in like the back of my throat today. It's really pissing me off because it makes it hard to talk. Blood oranges, yummy, yummy. Citrus and more fruit. There's a very mild collective U.S. Northwest accent that's part of a larger West Coast U.S. accent. Okay, here, I'll ask you this, Dizzy, because you are from here. Do I have a noteworthy Midwest accent that feels distinct from the coastal accent? Because, like I said, I just haven't really noticed a distinct difference. Holy shit. Kenny says, I discovered this week that I probably narrowly avoided being one of the teens trafficked by the people behind the Lincoln financial scandal in the 80s. Holy shit. I have a slight mix of the whole West Coast because my family is actually from SoCal. Okay, I do have a distinctive Midwest accent. That's fascinating. I know that there's certain words, like I have certain words that I pronounce. Or not pronounce, but like, you know, crawdad versus crawfish or soda versus pop. Like, you know, I have a strictly Kansas City accent based on my vocabulary. But also I grew up on the internet. And so what I was saying earlier about cultural homogeneity is It's like, I think that the preponderance of the internet is causing some amount of accent merging. You look like you're eating kitty roca. I don't know what that means. Do you mean, oh, is like kitty poop with kitty litter on it? Yeah. It's a blood orange. I think you have the Midwestern no accent. Fair enough. We are all, however, in our generation, slowly losing the distinctiveness of our regional accents. Yeah. It's like, I used to watch Jacksepticeye, who is Irish, and he was saying that, like, he sounds distinctly Irish to Americans, but when he gets in a Uber or something in Ireland, they sometimes ask if he is American, and he's like, I'm gonna kill myself. But his accent is, like, so Americanized. Keep in mind, though, that I'm not normal. Linguistics are a thing that I actually heavily research, so I can talk about things like the cot versus cot merger. That's a good point, and we should talk about that sometime, because I am also a fucking linguistics nerd. Yummy, yummy. Blood oranges. I used to get asked when drunk if I was Irish. That's pretty funny. It's so cool. Like, most of it's, like, dark, and then there's these, like, lighter parts. What is with you, blood oranges? What's your deal? What's going on? But I also, I, like, bother to pronounce differences that other people don't. Like, my partner pronounces the words pin and pen almost the same. And I find it really frustrating. Because sometimes I'm like, what are you saying? Like, oh, you're saying pin, not pen. Those are different words. You pronounce them differently. And, like, I even pronounce, like, Mary and Mary different. You know? A calico orange, truly. Yum, yum, yum. Fruits and veggies. They're good for you, etc., etc. I love oranges, but they hurt my damn fingers to peel, so I never eat them. That's fair. One thing that's fun is that will and wheel sound the same in many southern U.S. accents. Yeah, like, yeah, wheel, as in, like, will with a heavy southern accent. I've also struggled with this a little bit with how to distinguish between, like, an OR or ORE sound versus AW sound with Australian accents, especially. Like, I follow a couple of Australian guys who talk about Game of Thrones, and, like, if they're saying, like, lore versus law, they sound very similar, like law. And I'm like, what are you fucking saying? The southern thing will drive you nuts when you hear a sermon about the will of God. The fucking, what do you mean, will of, oh, will of God? Yeah, exactly, yes. I find oranges much easier to eat if I quarter them first. Yeah, like, cut them with a knife. But if you have, like, limited hand function, then sometimes cutting vegetables is not something you can do. Where I'm from, USA, pen and pin are pronounced identically. Yeah, well, skill issue. Fucking try harder. It's like it literally gets in the way of communication sometimes. But I think this is just part of language. Like, sometimes it gets simpler. Like, language has a tendency to become simpler over time. And English is a dumb language. So, of course, it's going to, like, get simpler over time because it's a stupid language. pronouncing crayon as crown. And listen, there are some that I'm guilty of. Like, I say February. I don't say February. I'm not I know, like, I'm not making a point to pronounce that word correctly. But it's not merging with another word. And it's not like flattening a vowel sound. Oh, I'm sorry you're having the shakes. That's so shitty, Dizzy. I'm not going to recap it all over again, but I was complaining prodigiously at the beginning of this show about how I don't technically have a POTS diagnosis based on the fact that my heart rate didn't go up high enough, but my treatment plan is still basically to do all of the things that you do to treat POTS, and so I'm really pissed off and frustrated. So I understand having stupid health issues. Oh, crayon versus crown versus crayon. True. That's a crayon. John Bainbridge. That's a solid joke. It's time to play Wheel of God. That's good stuff. Can we make it more normal to ask for clarification? Sure. I get what you mean. Like, of course, I don't have any problem asking for clarification in my home with, like, again, the pen thing with my partner happens like a couple times a year. And I just wish that he would fucking say it differently. They just call that autonomic dysfunction. Yeah. I'm still, so I just want to run, through, I guess, like, so I did not get a POTS diagnosis. So what I still need to do is I'm going to get vitamins tested. Like, I did just get a bunch of labs, but it was more basic stuff like LDL and everything. So I am supposed to get my vitamins tested, more labs. I am supposed to get an EKG. I'm supposed to get an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of my heart. And I'm supposed to do a 14-day heart monitor, like a Holter test. And I think also I ordered a sleep test, and I was supposed to get a phone call from the company that sends the at-home sleep tester to your house, but I don't think I got that call. So I'm gonna have to check with them like next week and be like, did I do something wrong? Because like I was supposed to get a call from this company. I don't think I got it, but I'm concerned that I have sleep apnea. So I'm like, those are all the tests that I'm gonna get to do, and I get to find out if there's something actually wrong with my heart or if I just have like unspecified autonomic dysfunction. In which case I was already doing all of the treatment things I was supposed to be doing, so fuck it. I recently learned that hypermobility can make it harder to roll your R's, which makes sense, but also can only do it unintentionally when not making my accent more palatable. I don't remember what your accent is, Emma. I know that you're from somewhere in the UK or like Great Britain, but I don't know what your specific accent is. I find it very easy to roll my R's. And for the most part, I don't feel like I need to warm up my rolling R. But that might also be because when I was a kid, we would call my cats, we would go kitty, 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 kitty. And so I think that might have just primed me for having a good, like a good rolling R. Because I can just pull it up. Oh, you're Scottish. Okay. Oh my God. I saw the funniest fucking video a while back of a woman who was trying to get her heavily Scottish accented partner to say different words. And so she was trying to get him to say burglary, and his tendency to roll all of his R's. So he was going burglary, burglary. And he eventually he gave up and he was like, oh, what do you want me to say? Burglary. Fucking hilarious. Like both him struggling to say the word and him switching to like a British accent. So fucking funny. Burglary. Burglary. Oh, God bless the Scottish. You have fucking amazing accents. My psych ordered a sleep test a week ago. Still haven't heard anything. I thought that I scheduled, like I was supposed to schedule it through the usual like online scheduling that I'm able to do with my doctor's office. And it was like, you're scheduling a time for the company that is going to send it to you to call you. And like, maybe they decided it wasn't necessary for them to call me. Like, you fucking have my address on file. You should be able to send it without asking me any questions. But then I went through all of my like, appointment settings and everything, and it didn't show me any evidence that I had a sleep study scheduled at all. So I don't know what the fucking deal is. That damn phrase, purple burglar alarm. Purple burglar alarm. It's very funny. I call my kitty by whistling. Yeah. Oh, what's the schedule right now? So we are gonna have 2 more streams. So I will see you on Sunday, and then I'll see you next Wednesday. But then the following weekend, I am not going to be here because we're getting a new cat that weekend. And I'm so excited. It's been so weird not having a cat. And like when I moved out of living with my partner before, and then I moved back in, I was still visiting frequently enough that I got to see a cat on a regular basis. And my buddy, I was like, hey, what's up, my buddy? You're around, you're alive. And sometimes Deegan would like send me pictures of the cat. But so it's like the longest time in a long time that I have not known a cat, like not had a cat buddy that I could go see like whenever I want to. So yeah, we're gonna basically just go to the Humane Society or whatever and be like, yo, what cats you got? And then we're just gonna get one, presumably, assuming that there's one there that we like, and there probably will be. And now I'm opening a giant, look at this thing. This is almost as big as my fucking forehead. It's bigger than my forehead, actually. Like, how much of my face does this thing cover? This is a navel orange. We have 8. I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and say that's too many cats. That's too many. I've heard one of the hardest words to pronounce. What is ESOL? English second. It's normally ESL, English second language. What is ESOL? But squirrel is a weird one, apparently. Squirrel. I imagine, yeah, you might, it's got a lot of weird letters. You might not know how to say it based on how, Jesus Christ. Look at how thick that wall is. I don't know if you can see. Look at how thick that skin is, dude. It's like a centimeter thick. That's crazy. What are you doing? Oh my goodness. Eat your fruits and vegetables, kids. I might also have half an avocado later. I used to love navel oranges, then I discovered citrus was causing migraines. Oh, that's so sad. I'm sure that I'm spraying orange essential oils everywhere all over my desk. That's all pith. I know! Look at this! That's ridiculous. What is wrong with you, dude? I guess that means that it's like... I guess probably that means that it dries out slower, like, or that it has more capacity to dry out before it's, like, inedible. I don't know. The cat distribution system blessed a pal with a free second cat last year, but to be frank, she's pretty rural and there's lots of wild ones. Yeah, first of all, I don't want to wait for the cat distribution system to give me a cat. And second of all, it's like better in so many ways to get a cat from a shelter. Because first of all, like it's literally less expensive to get a cat from a shelter because they already have all of this blood work done. And like they've also recently been treated for fleas and worms, and like they may have even been fixed already. Versus like the cost of doing all that yourself with a cat that you just found. And like if they're in the shelter, then they're not going to have like, they're less likely to have some kind of mystery illness that you don't know how to treat. And then by supporting the Humane Society, you support like all of the other animal efforts that they do, and like the community stuff that they are able to do. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that I think that it's best in most situations if you can to get a cat from the shelter. Peeling oranges. Peeling oranges. Yummy, yummy. I tried to get my cats to visit when Lux was here, but my kitties were skittish with strangers. Yeah, it's okay. I never, especially because your dogs are so fucking loud, then like your dogs freak out when there's people, and it's not exclusive to your dogs. Everybody's dogs freak out when there's a visitor. So, you know, even if the cats are cool with strangers, they're also gonna tend, I think, to shy away from big dog energy. So yeah, I'm not bummed about it or anything. Ha 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 ha. Navel orange. See, trusting them fruits is not appealing to me. Listen, I get a much higher exposure to puns than I ever thought that I was going to through my job at the line, because people love to torture Erica. Erica doesn't like puns, and so we get a ton of super chats with puns in them, which, like, hell yeah, I get a portion of those super chats. Thank you. I get like 25% of the super chats. So thanks for that. But, or 20, I don't know, 20% something. So I just get to enjoy a lot more puns than I ever thought I would at this job. And then, of course, the amusing thing is that Erica also threatens people with violence for you saying puns. So that's another enjoyable part of it. You could hear lots of creative ways of how you could potentially silence someone permanently from Erica. So yeah. I like oranges, but peeling them is so annoying. It makes me pissy. True. You got your little Mike Tyson speech impediment going on there. Look, it's after midnight here. I'm tired. Yeah. Yeah, go to bed. Yeah, is it are you 8 hours off me? So it's after midnight. Yeah, you're 8 hours off. It's fun having to like refigure out how to calculate time zones, because I'm 2 hours off from what I was before. And even now I'm like, I'll be like, ooh, I should text my sister. And then I'm like, yeah, but it's 6 o'clock for me, which means it's 8 o'clock for her. And she has 2 toddlers, so she might not appreciate having like bedtime interrupted with my text messages. Got my gymnast rings. Fuck yes. It's mainly the guest. Jaguar doesn't care about the dogs. She tolerates the nonsense until Mossy's a nuisance enough to get hissed at. True enough. But yeah, gymnast rings. I have some of those. Shout out to Mersh, who bought those for me a couple years back. Yeah, and I would love to get back into using them. I'm just like, I'm trying to work back up to being able to exercise upright. And unfortunately, that means doing mostly leg exercises at this time. I want to incorporate some upper body stuff, because listen, if we're going to continue having a stream goal of me getting the guns out, then we need to, you know, I need to be working on the guns at least a little bit. So that's a goal of mine. But hell yeah, Faulty Branches, I'm excited for you. Anytime someone's like, I'm gonna get gains, I'm like, fuck yeah, do it. My goal for this year for myself is to gain 10 pounds of muscle, which is mostly just a nebulous goal to put on muscle and work out more and maybe lose some weight. I'm kind of curious, and I'm curious if anybody has personal experience with this. So like I said, some part of what my doctor wants me to do in order to address my health issues and like maybe make it you know, just help me with my symptoms is to switch my diet around to you know, something closer to a Mediterranean diet, which is why I'm eating more fruit. And I wonder if just by making the changes of what I'm eating and maybe not caring about like the amount that I'm eating, but it's like I have to mostly cut out processed sugar and I'm supposed to eat like fruit for dessert and maybe dark chocolate. I keep dark chocolate on my desk. And I'm supposed to eat whole grains instead of processed grains. So I'm wondering if just making these dietary changes and mostly even just changing it throughout the day. Like I don't have big plans to overhaul my dinner meal planning because I have all of February already planned out and I'm not going to change it midstream. So I have my entire meal plan ready for February and I cook for 2 other people. And one of those people is a chronically underweight person, so I'm not trying to like make them lose weight, but I'm just kind of curious if I'm going to probably see some physical changes in my body by just like getting full on fruit, like getting full on raw vegetables, having less capacity for snacking, or if I'm do snacking, I'm fucking eating chickpeas and fucking sun chips. One day your muscles will just appear after eating spinach like Popeye. True. Ooh, this orange is way better than the blood orange. It's so juicy. It's quite delicious. I'm off to the grocery store to buy stuff to make beef bourguignon. I can't pronounce it, but I sure as shit will devour it. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. John, the thing is that I do usually plan my meals by the week, but I've done it for enough months now. It's like I have a full month written out. So what I did was I took a previous month and I just copy pasted it. So I have a whole month set based on, because most of last year I put it in a month spreadsheet, even though I was only planning them week by week. So now I have much greater capacity to just be like, fuck it. I don't need to think about this. I already thought about it at some previous time. I just need to copy paste a different month and put it back in there. Bourguignon. Beef bourguignon. This is big. Smiley. I already peeled it, so I can't do the thing where you're like, mm. My experience with losing weight, switching to hefty water intake and getting full-on fiber helped a ton. I still eat too much bread. Listen, bread is delicious. Bread is so hard to quit. It's like Brokeback Mountain, like I can't quit you. But you get whole grain bread and then it's like at least it's healthy for you, quote unquote. Having a good time. Just having a grand old time. I don't know how I'm going to continue my basmati rice habit because I think most basmati rice is not whole, like doesn't have it has all the stuff processed out, you know? It's basically like having white rice all the time. You can also get the smaller slices of bread. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess you could get a like full loaf of bread and like get like custom slices by slicing your own. You know, there's a lot of options. Whoa. This almost looks like it wants to be 2 cells. Look at that orange juicy. But it's 1. It like looks like it should split off and be 2, but it's 1. That's weird. Why are you doing that? The orange juicy. It's good to change up the kind of rice you eat. Yeah, but I buy like 20-pound bags of rice, you know? Saving that money by buying in bulk. Bourguignon is beef stew with red wine, mushrooms, carrots, and bacon. It's pure decadence. Yeah, a lot of that is stuff that I shouldn't be eating right now. I do love bacon. It's like everything in moderation, though, you know? Like, I think even if you are, you know, making different choices with your health in mind, that, like, moderation is the key to everything, you know? Like, have a glass of wine every once in a while. And, like, you know, eat bacon once every couple of months or something. And, like, yeah, it's probably, like, cumulatively still going to contribute to you dying early, but, you know, is life worth living if you don't get to indulge sometimes? Baking my own loaves as a hobby could go that route. Yeah, I've been really wanting to make bread recently, but I just don't think about it until it's like late enough in the day that I just feel like I don't have time to do it. But my partner pointed out that I could also like do a mechanical leavening instead of waiting for yeast to rise, because that's the thing. That's the thing that gets in the way. Ooh, but I am getting my food processor, like the food processor that y'all bought for me. I am going to get to like one of the things that you can do with it is knead bread dough. So I could potentially like use that to knead bread dough. It's Fesh. Hello, it's Gay Fesh. Oh my god. My nose is ready. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, only eat battery acid in moderation. There's an old guy on YouTube who does no-knead bread. Yeah. I'm familiar with no-knead recipes. But I'm just trying to think of, like, if I'm getting a food processor, you know, my stated reason for getting a food processor was so that I could make homemade hummus, which I still want to do, and maybe pesto sometimes, although I don't have any basil growing at the moment, so I would need to buy a shit ton of basil, and I don't know if that's going to be worth it. Maybe I need to become friends with somebody who is going to grow a bunch of basil. But pesto, and to chop vegetables, because there's like the chop function that you can like slice vegetables in the top of the food processor. So I'm like trying to think of more use cases for a food processor so that I don't have to like, so I'm not only using it like every once in a while, you know? So you can also use it to make salsa, which is very exciting. You can use it to make guac, which is good. You could use it to like make a vegetable soup puree. So if I were to like, I could roast vegetables, which is fucking delicious. And then I could take those, first of all, I could chop the vegetables in the food processor. And then I could roast them in the oven. And then I could put them back in the food processor and spin it up into a puree and then have like a beautiful roasted vegetable soup puree. Which, again, we're just trying to increase the amount of like straight up vegetables in the diet. So those are kind of, after perusing Reddit a little bit, those are some things that I could potentially use a food processor for. Powerful enough food processors can make smooth cashew cream if you have any dairy issues. Good point. Yeah, I one time made my partner some pistachio butter, like as in peanut butter, but with pistachios, because he's been on this search for a long time to like find it in the store, but you just don't find it very often. You can probably go on Amazon and buy it, but he wanted to come buy it organically. And so at some point, actually when we lived separately, I was like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make you some pistachio butter. And like I gave it to him as a surprise. So that was fun. And I think that that's the kind of thing that you would do in a food processor. I think what I did was I bought a Magic Bullet from the thrift store for $10. And so I just made, one of these little, it's only this big, the cup on the Magic Bullet. And so I used that to make the pistachio butter. And it took for fucking ever. But I guess I could make larger amounts of pistachio butter in my food processor. So that's exciting. And like the food processor I got is one of the highest rated food processors. It's a Cuisinart like 14 cup food processor. So I'm excited. I tried to grow basil and failed hard 3 times. I've got a black thumb. You might have some issues with your soil then. Basil, I feel like, is super easy to grow. Yeah, everybody's like, it's easy to grow in the window, easy to grow on the pot, on a balcony. I gave my spouse a windowsill/tabletop herb garden for her birthday one year, and it has been awesome. Nice. Soup stock is a great way to get more salt. Another great point. I went off the tea unwillingly because they didn't give me all the injection supplies, and when I'm off of it, the cycling hormones make me have a bad time. There's a time window where things are freaking out and where no matter how much I eat, I feel like I'm starving, and that was yesterday, and I kept wanting bread. Yeah. I will say, I think I went to shopmedvet.com and bought like a huge box of syringes and a huge box of needles, all the correct sizes because you use one needle to draw up into the syringe, and then you switch needles to a smaller one to do the injection. So, and I just did that for my younger sibling who was on a prescription of tea. And so, yeah, we like still have oodles. So if you have the ability to buy in bulk and you don't need a prescription in order to get those supplies, I would recommend going that route if that's still available. Fruit. I'm a big gay fruit. It's true. I wake up, I mix dough up in 5 minutes, let it rise for 2 hours, toss it into bake while, quote, at work. Fresh loaf for lunch kicks all the ass. Ooh, okay. We just finally paid $6 for the damn needles. Yeah, buying it in bulk is going to save you money in the long term as well as saving you the hassle of, if they're stupid like harm reduction policies for trying to make sure that drug users don't get a hold of needles, which is fucking stupid anyway. But plus just buying them, only a month at a time is just going to be more expensive. I really like your dogs, by the way. They're very cute. I'm not like a big dog person, but I enjoy them in brief intervals when I'm around other people. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you, Dizzy, but shortly after I came up to visit you, I came down with strep. And I don't know if, I'm assuming that you didn't get sick. But, yeah. I was sick for like half a week with strep throat. It sucked. But it's pretty easy for me to get antibiotics with my current doctor situation, so it wasn't too bad. Yeah, good puppies. Good babies. I think I might have gotten it from the place that I got coffee from, but I'm not totally sure. It doesn't really matter. It wasn't that big of a deal. I am all about that soup life. Yeah, I bought a couple of different kinds of soup. Again, just on the like, I'm gonna try out some new foods and see if it makes sense to kind of incorporate any of these into my regular diet. I got a lentil soup. Lentil soup, delicious. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, I'm just like, I assume that it was from my trip because of when my throat got sore, but it could have also been like from when I got lab work earlier in the week if it was a really long gestation for strep throat. I don't know. Not a big deal. Yeah, more soup. seems like a really good life to live, you know? The only reason why I don't make potato soup as often as I used to is because I fucking hate cooking bacon. Like, either I'm cooking it in the pan and you have to do it in like multiple phases because nobody's pan is big enough for a whole packet of bacon, or you're putting it in the oven, but nobody's baking sheet is big enough for an entire package of bacon without it having to overlap, and then you get the fucking like parts of it that are still chewy and not crunchy. I need to learn how to soup again. I used to soup, but that was back when I could stand for an hour on my feet, and I can't anymore. That's fair. I have started just keeping a stool in the kitchen for if I need to sit. Like, I'll sit while I do the dishes. Like, I open the cabinets under the sink so that my knees have somewhere to go, and I'll just sit and do dishes. And if I have to stand in there and cook something for longer, I'll sit down while there's like in between phases. Okay, so sushi. Kenny is talking about sushi in the chat. I have figured out that I can eat sushi if it has something like cucumber in it. But I need like a crunchy element, because otherwise sushi is far too squishy and it makes me kind of grossed out. Which sucks because I love it in concept and I think it tastes good, but the textures are just all bad. This is just not good. The sashimi, where it's like just rice with raw fish on top, I can't do it. Can't do it. It's not for me. This has truly fully become a food stream. It's not really what I intended for today, but shit happens. You know what's really fun? That we're getting 2 Game of Thrones shows this year. We've got the Night of the Seven Kingdoms airing right now, and then supposedly we're supposed to get House of the Dragon this summer. Maybe try gimbap, which is rice rolls with carrots, pickles, and other stuff. Yeah, I usually eat rolls with like, yeah, I can do the imitation crab, or I can do like the raw fish in the, it just has to have cucumber. I think that is like the critical element for me. And I don't even know if that makes it real sushi or if that's only an Americanized thing. I also really enjoy the idea of going to do omakase. Like, you know, as far as, I don't really like going out to eat very much or like sitting down for an experience, but I like the idea of doing omakase. And so I'm like, I don't know. Can I even do omakase, or am I going to be grossed out by half of it? I mean, I'll still force myself to eat it, but I might not have as good of a time as I'm hoping. Get a cooling rack for your baking sheet. Double the sheet area. Just move the bacon from sheet to rack halfway through. Well, I usually, if I'm cooking bacon, I cook it on the cooling rack on the baking sheet because I don't want the bacon to like, what's the word? There's a word for when you cook something in its own fat. I don't want basically to confit the bacon in its own fat. I'm like, I put it on the cooling tray, so that it will drip down below and not like simmer in its own fatty juices. I don't know. I'm just very particular about my bacon. It needs to be crunchy to a point of like almost too crunchy. I never did Game of Thrones, but somehow got into Hot D. Definitely enjoyed it. Might go into the whole series. Listen, I do think the ending of Game of Thrones was really disappointing. If you want to watch seasons 1 through 5 and pretend it got canceled at that point, I think that that's a reasonable way to consume it. But I don't know how House of the Dragon is going to turn out. It's been pretty good so far. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is probably the best adaptation of A Song of Ice and Fire so far. But, you know, it's like my name is pronounced like Kenneth with the T removed, not like Kenny. Okay. And I assume that you're going to be super pissed off if I just say Ken. I hate crunchy bacon. I can't do like chewy bacon. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Have you seen the water frying pan bacon method? No, I'll look it up. Water frying pan bacon method. How to cook the perfect crispy bacon in water. Cook bacon in water. The idea is to cover the pan with a shallow layer of water, boil it off, then reduce the heat and continue cooking. This method helps the bacon retain moisture, making it tender, while the fat has time to render also. The additional benefit here is less fat spluttering out too. Yeah, but I also don't like cooking bacon in the pan. I think we're just finding out that, like, I like tasting bacon, but as far as being a home cook, I do not like having to produce it. Is it Kenna? Like Kenna? Okay, I've known someone who's named Kenna. It's just spelled with a fucking A and not an E at the end. Kenna. Okay. That makes more sense. Someone said earlier that they were going to go see Sinners. Highly recommended. Is very good. Oh, fuck. Did I tell you I saw Iron Lung? Oh, maybe we did talk about it. Because I talked to you guys on Sunday and we went to see it earlier in the weekend. Iron Lung was really good. So what are the stats right now? Iron Lung. Iron Lung movie money. Can you tell me how much money it's made? So Iron Lung, the first weekend got to like $21 million, and in the second weekend earned another $6 million. It's going to be back, or sorry, it's only going to be in theaters for another couple days, at least when I was looking at theaters that I want to go to. Like, I think that it's maybe even only through tomorrow. Again, but just based on the locations that I was looking at. So I think if you want to see it in theaters, you might have to do it like tonight or tomorrow. Yeah, we're planning to see it, catch it sometime after he gets off work this week. Yeah, you might have to do it like tomorrow. So at this point, or at least according to a Forbes article from 2 days ago, it has made more than 11 times its budget of $3 million. I circumvent the whole bacon cooking issue by buying pre-cooked bacon. Yeah, that's an interesting tactic. Yes, Iron Lung is the Markiplier movie. Correct. He self-financed it for $3 million. He starred in it. He directed it. It has Troy Baker in it. If you know who Troy Baker is. It was a... I started to get really distracted, like right at the end of the movie. And I also think that I would benefit a lot from having subtitles. And there weren't any subtitles in the theater that I went to, but yeah. So I'm looking forward to like purchasing it sometime or like streaming it or whatever the fuck. But yeah, apparently, according to GameSpot article from 2 days ago, the worldwide revenue for the movie was $34.2 million on a $3 million budget, which is crazy. That's awesome. It was definitely really interesting. I didn't watch him play the video game because it's based on a video game. Yeah, Troy Baker, the voice actor. He's also in the Last of Us as like a real actor, human person, like the Last of Us TV show. So yeah, I really appreciate this. Like, it's one good thing that's come from the influencer subspace that, like, obviously a lot of people who are influencers are shitty people, you know? Jake Paul makes enough money to make his own movie, but he instead is a stupid person who does stupid person things. But I think you know, that somebody could support an indie game and create an indie movie, and his idea of like, okay, what am I going to do with the profits from this movie? He's like, I get to give everyone who worked on this movie a big fat bonus. So that, imagine, you know, making 11 times what you spent on it and being like, I'm going to share that with the people who worked on it. Like, he could keep all that money and self-finance his next movie. But I guess maybe he doesn't have any active ideas, so he's just like, well, when I have my next idea, I'll finance that movie. Or maybe he'll be able to get, you know, maybe he'll be able to get studio support for the next movie instead of entirely self-financing it because, you know, now he's been able to prove that a movie made by him is going to make 11 times its budget back. And that's with no advertisement. Like the theater that I went to, I think that it was not even one of the original locations, like, because they, you know, the first weekend it only went out to select theaters, and then they decided to expand it for the next weekend. So there wasn't you know, one of the movie theater posters. Like, we didn't have one of those at all. And so yeah, I'd stick with self-financing through the studios. Yeah, because there's also like that element of once you get studio involvement, they're going to start trying to muddle in your, like, in your creative decisions, which, you know, if you have a lot of good creative heads coming together, I think that's a good thing a lot of the times, you know, like, you know, sometimes the script gets changed a little bit because of something someone does on set that day, and they're like, ooh, no, that's good. Like, let's do at least a couple takes where we do it that way instead of what's written in the script. And then sometimes that makes it into the final product. But fucking executives are the reason why season 2 of House of the Dragon is not particularly strong, because it was supposed to be a 10 episode season and they cut it down to 8. So it felt really awkward. And it didn't quite land well in the ending because the pacing was off, because some executive decided to cut it down to you know, cut 2 of the episodes. So yeah, there's kind of give and take with that, where sometimes executives can help you make decisions that cause your movie to make more money, but also they might change things about it creatively that you're like, this fundamentally changes the movie. Our local theater showed it, but it was packed. Sunday had like 20 plus people. Hell yeah. Arndnaj, hello. Good to see you from the line. Be normal. Yeah. That's mostly like, by be normal, I mostly mean like, don't sexually harass me. Yeah. It is really funny when a troll comes in here and like you have to subscribe for 1 full minute before you can type in the chat. And it's really funny to me to be like, you literally sat there for 60 whole seconds contemplating, ooh, how am I going to bother this total stranger who's just hanging out with their community? Hopefully Mark will garner good faith with folks by profit sharing to the crew and actors both, because it's cool and it sets a precedence for more egalitarian art instead of shitty sequel farming like the big production houses keep doing. Yeah, I do hope that, you know, it shows like a different way that you can make a movie. It's not about pocketing millions of dollars in profits. The movie Yesterday, where the guy discovers he's the only one who remembers the Beatles, was originally written about how you couldn't just write those songs and have the same success as the Beatles, because there are circumstances outside your control that come together to capture that lightning in a bottle. The movie As Made was about how if you lived in a world without the Beatles, you could immediately become famous by writing Beatles songs. Yeah, that's fundamentally different. That's mm, I don't think that's not a good change. Nathan, first stream on your channel. Hell yeah. Well, thanks for coming by. We're getting close to the end. I usually start at so I'm in Pacific time, so I usually start at 2 p.m. on this Wednesday stream. And oh, what is it? I changed it on Sundays. On Sundays, I start at 1 p.m. So basically, like, when Matt Dillahunty is streaming, you can often find me streaming, which was not intentional. That's what my schedule was before I started for like full time at the line, basically. Am I considered full time? I don't know. I don't actually. I guess I'm like part time at the line. It feels like full time. Like it feels like a huge portion of my time, but it still only ends up being like a few hours of my day, except on the Forrest and Erica streams, which we're doing another one of on Friday. I don't know how long it's going to be though, because I think that their point is that they want to get that one specific Jim Bob guy to call in. So, but if they don't get him in, I don't know how long we're going to go. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Oh, excuse me. I don't know how eating those oranges got me so burpy, but that's where we're at right now. Is there anything fun going on for the rest of the week? Like, I'm going to be on Calling It Now tomorrow. Not on Takis, but I will be on Calling It Now with Jimmy. So that'll be a good few hours probably. And then Friday we have a long Cause I Wanna, or just a Cause I Wanna with Forrest and Erica. I am going to... Oh, I see. Yeah. The username things on YouTube are kind of funky. Rewinding to start at the beginning later. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's interesting how the streams do still get views afterwards. Like for several days, I'll get a couple hundred more views in the days afterwards. It's fascinating. But so Friday we've got a Cause I Wanna. Saturday, God bless, is a day off. I actually don't have anything planned on Saturday. And then we stream again on Sunday. And the After Dark show on Sunday. Oh yeah, fucking Saturday is Valentine's Day, but we are explicitly not making plans. So I guess I kind of have like an open-ended day. I've got a couple ideas for stuff that I want to do. I was thinking about, I should clean my bathtub over the next couple of days. And then I bought some bath bombs. So maybe I'll just like, one of my plans for Valentine's Day might be some solo time in the bath bomb situation. Because I haven't had a bath in a long time. So that's a possibility. And then pretty regular week next week. Just working, zug. Fucking February is, I'm working so much this month. It feels like a lot. So, but hey, you work more and you make more money. And I pick up extra shifts and I make more money. And that's how that works. And we do have another, like, Arden is handling, we have a Cause I Wanna on the 20th and the 21st, and she's covering both of those. And she's covering my evening show on Sunday, because I'm taking that weekend off. So God bless Arden for that. And then on the 28th, there's another Cause I Wanna that I'm covering. Yeah, busy fucking month. At home, I don't catch as many streams, but often on the road for 40 to 50 consecutive days. Trucker? Listen, truckers are the lifeblood of our economy, so high five on all that. And yeah, good stuff. Every Wednesday, I have therapy. So after stream, I get to chill for an hour, and then I have therapy. So that's a new part of my schedule as well. Therapy every week. Every week, which is also the most frequently I've ever done therapy. So, yay. Hurrah. Huzzah. Huzzah to the tipper. I can't steal that from Ben, but I'm so mad that I didn't think of it first because I grew up at the Renaissance Festival saying huzzah to the tipper. Like I cannot begin to tell you how many times I've yelled huzzah to the tipper. Legitimately. So that's what my next week is looking like. Someone named Guillermo del Totoro gave me $5 on Patreon, so that's pretty cool. Good stuff. Trucker for nearly 29 years. The dog in my profile has traveled with me since... That's 2026. Did you mean 2006? That's a long time for a dog to live. What did you mean 16? Since December 24th, 2016? Because December 24th, 2026 hasn't happened yet, unless you're a time traveler. In which case, are you coming back to, you know, the classic Hitler thing that time travelers do? It's a future dog, yeah. I've never been to a Renaissance Festival. I don't even know if we have one in Canada. 2018. Okay. You know, that's an interesting question. It's definitely an American phenomenon. The very first one was in California, and they've spread across America. Are there Renaissance fairs in Canada? Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. From Reddit 2 years ago, Southern Ontario is getting some nice ones building up. Renfair.ca, Renfair, Renfaire.ca is a website where you can look and see if there's one. So there's one in Calgary apparently. Yeah, so you've got some. But yeah, it's definitely an American thing. Oh, and fun fact, the very first Renaissance Pleasure Fair is what it was called, was created by a former teacher who had been blocked out of teaching during the Communist Red Scare in like the 1950s in America. And so the first Renaissance Pleasure Fair was started by someone who was an accused communist, and most of the people who worked there were like actors who were also struggling to find work acting because of them being labeled communists. So, yeah, if you ever see like conservatives, and I've had this issue where like I've had a conservative person get mad at me for being openly queer at the Renaissance Festival, I'm like, you're in the wrong fucking place, because Renaissance festivals are inherently queer. They're inherently politically subversive places where people who live alternative lifestyles live. Like, people travel. It's like being a carny. There is actually a word for it. It's called being a rennie. If you like travel with the fair and you work there and like you kind of live a nomadic lifestyle. And yes, there are things about it that are like less than ideal. Sometimes there's like weird drug use, and sometimes there's like weird sexual abuses and stuff, but like fucking welcome to America. It's not unique in that way. It's just that the people don't necessarily have the same kind of worker protections. And there's the difficulty with traveling that means it can be hard to prosecute crimes and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a very cool place. Having worked at a Ren Fair, yeah, it's starting from someone who is accused of being a commie makes so much sense. Yes, for serious. I worked the KCRF for years, met my spouse there. I also met my spouse at the Kansas City Renaissance Festival. That's so funny, Kenna. That's so funny. I was driving for the accent part of the convo. I was raised in Arizona around every accent you can imagine while having echolalia. The only time anyone accused me of having an accent was a European couple on their year-long vacation asked me where I was from. And I was like, Arizona. And they responded, oh, you speak English very European. Weird. That's fun. All right, well, I'm going to get rid of all of these orange peel scraps on my desk now, even though it smells very pungent in here. And I'll see you guys all on Calling It Now tomorrow. I will ping in my Discord or try to remember to ping in my Discord. So if you aren't a member of my Discord, if you want to make sure you know when I'm going live here or on the line or on Jimmy Snow and the line, then let me know by joining the Discord server, and you'll get the notifications there. So yeah, thanks. Much love. Be good to yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.